Today I'm going to show you how to do join as you go granny squares. This is for if you want to not add an extra round to your squares. You still want to have no joining to do at the end. If you don't mind there being an extra round around your squares, check the video up above to see continuous join as you go. That's a similar technique, but it adds another round. So here we are. To do join as you go, you need to start by just making one of your squares or any motif. This method will work on any square or motif that has holes on the last round. It works when you don't have holes too, but if there are holes, it's easier. It's more straightforward to see. So here I have my second square. I've done 2 rounds and I've done one side for the third round because these are going to both be 3-round squares. Okay, so in order to join to this one that I've made already, I'm going to, you see I've stopped at the corner here. I've only done one side. I'm going to do chain 1. Normally I do chain 2 in the corner. Before I do the next chain, I'm going to insert my hook into the corner of the first square and do a slip stitch. And you can chain 1 here. I prefer to chain 1 here. You don't have to. I just like the look better. And then you finish your corner as normal. Okay, now that I've done the next group of stitches here, I'm at another hole in my pattern. So I'm going to look for the next hole on this side, insert my hook into there, slip stitch, and I like to chain 1. Again, you don't have to. Continue along the side. I'm going to do 3 double crochets. Find the next hole, slip stitch, and then chain 1 optionally. This is a corner, so I am going to chain 1 first, and then insert into the corner of the other square, slip stitch, optional chain 1, and then continue around this dark blue square. You can see how that has joined the 2 squares together. You didn't need to bring in a third color. It's quite nice because when you add your last square, you're done your blanket, unless you want to do an edging. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to add a third square. All right, so now I'm going to add my third square on. I think I'm going to put it here. I've made the 2 rounds and one side of the 3 of the third round. So I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to insert my hook into the corner of this dark blue one. Optional chain 1. Finish the corner. Okay, I've done 3 double crochets. Now I'm going to find the next hole, insert my hook, do a slip stitch, optional chain 1. And then go back to working on the square. Okay, find the next hole, insert your hook, do a slip stitch, chain 1 if you desire, 3 double crochets. Now I'm at the corner, so I'm going to chain 1. Now you have some options here. You can work into this hole here if you want to. That's what we did last time. You could work into the diagonal corner. That looks great too. If you plan on doing that, if you're going to do like a whole blanket, you might have wanted to skip joining this corner when we join these 2 together, because then you can join the yellow to the light blue and your dark blue to whatever color you do here. What I like to do, just so I don't never have to decide, is I just go into this space between the 2 squares, like so. But any of the previous mentioned options work great. Optional chain 1, and now we're going to continue along the side of this square and finish it up. Okay, so for the 4th square, normally you would add it on the way you have been so far. Do one side and then join along here and then along there before finishing your square. When you get to the corner, you can insert your hook. At this point, I would go into this hole in the corner of the dark blue, but it doesn't really matter too much. Just do what looks good to you. In the final blanket, people aren't going to notice anyway. I'm going to do this square a little bit differently because one of the benefits of joining your squares like this is if you have a laundry mishap or an overeager pet that destroys one or more of these squares, you can cut the square out and insert another one without disturbing the rest of the blanket. So I'm going to show you how you would insert a new square in. Okay, when I finish adding this purple square on, I am going to show you how to remove one of these squares without damaging the surrounding ones. Okay, so to demonstrate how to remove one of the squares if it gets damaged, I am going to remove the yellow square. I think it will be the easiest one to see in the camera, and it has both been worked into and it worked into another square. So it's got both instances on it. So you want to get your scissors. Okay, and remember, we're taking the yellow square out, we're pretending it's damaged, so we only want to cut the yellow yarn. So here we have the purple is worked around the yellow, so I'm going to just cut the yellow there. And see how that came out? Sorry, I haven't woven in the end on the purple. So here's the next loop. We're just going to drag that over so that we can just cut the yellow. We're going to pull the purple over and just cut that yellow. Okay, now we're at the corner here. So what I want to do is just cut that yellow yarn there. So let's see if I can get my scissors under it. Oh, yeah, okay. There we go. Let's pull that out. Okay, so here's where the yellow is worked into the blue. It's a little easier to see. We just want to cut that yellow loop. This would be easier with pointier scissors. I'll put that out there. Okay, so just under the yellow. Try not to affect the blue. And there we have it. So it's certainly damaged now, but just pretend the inside was missing or something. You see the rest of the squares are basically untouched. Now there is an extra chain in between the double crochets here. That's fine. When you add your next square in, that'll use up that space. Okay, this is how you insert the new square. And again, if it's just the fourth square like I have here, just join it normally how we have with the other squares, just on these two sides. This is how you would do it if you had all four sides with squares. Okay, so you can't just make that first side. Like I've done 2 rounds, but I haven't done one side on the 3 round yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that there's a square here and a square here, so I don't have room for that. So what you're going to do is you're going to do your first 3 double crochets of the 3rd round, or whatever your last round is. Okay, and then you're going to go not into the corner, but into the next space. Join like we normally have been with your slip stitch and your optional chain 1. And then you just join normally all the way around. I'll show you that corner. There we go. So you see I went into the blue, into the dark blue. And you just keep joining along every time there's a space in the pattern. And again here, if there were more squares, I might go in the diagonal one. There aren't more squares, so I'm just going to go in here. And you would continue joining all the way around the square. All right, I am at the corner here. I'm going to do my 3 double crochets. I am not going to chain one. I find if you chain one here, you end up with too big of a corner. Your mileage may vary, chain one if you want to. I'm going to insert my hook into the corner here. If there were more squares around, pick your corner the way you would on any other corner. This is the only one I've got though, so I'm just going to do that. Do my slip stitch, chain one, and then join with a slip stitch to finish the round. Okay. I'm going to show you now how you can add a granny stitch border. Once you've finished your whole blanket, all your squares are done. This is what you're going to do. I've got some white here. So I'm going to put my hook into the corner, grab the white, and do my turning chain, which I do 3. 1 to sort of snug that on, and then 2 for the turning chain. And then do your 2 double crochets in the corner. That one came out weird. Okay, so we're just going to go along this square like we normally would if we were just adding another round. Okay, now we're getting to the corner. Now you don't want to work into both of these corners. That will give you too many stitches. You only want to do 1 group of 3 double crochets here. I find the best place to do it is in between the 2 squares in that hole there. So we're going to yarn over and do our double crochets. Oops. Let me just finish this row so you can see. And there you have it. That's what the edge will look like. Do 1 or 2 rounds or as many as you want. Go all the way around your blanket and join the corner there. Okay, so that's what it looks like with the border on. You can take it or leave it. If you want the whole blanket to be repairable, I don't recommend doing this border, because if I were to take out one of these squares, the border's going to be loose there. There are ways around that, but it's a little bit more advanced. That is how you do join as you go with granny squares and any similar pattern that has these kinds of holes on the edge. Thanks for watching.